All right. Thank you so much, Felicia, for that introduction, not only kind of to the class, but to the technical aspects. Maybe you could start more meetings for me. That would be really helpful. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Well, so hello, everyone. Welcome to the class. My name is Laura Leanhoutz. I'll take us a moment to introduce myself and then we'll jump in. We'll get going. So again, my name is Laura and I work for Sharpie, but I actually work also for Sharpie's parent company called Newell Brands. And I work in the innovation group and I help all of our brands think of new ideas, new things to go make. But one of my personal passions and one of the brands that I love to work with is Sharpie. It is really, really fun to help them think about what might come next, what great creative tools might we help support our consumers with. And so I can't really tell you much about what's coming. That's not allowed. But it is one of the really fun parts of my job is to be able to work not only with Sharpie, but some of our other writing brands like Papermate, like Prismacolor, like Elmer's Glue. It's fun to help creative brands be creative. And so I'm really grateful for all of you joining the class today. We're going to make this fun sign, the library sign, also a little it's a little bit of my background image as well. And, my background actually is in architecture as opposed to being an illustrator or an artist. And so I am encouraging everyone. I believe that everybody can be creative, and we'll give you a couple of tips and tricks and ways in which you feel excited and not worried about being creative and have the opportunity really to add your own spin, add your own taste, add your own message to the signs. So with that, we'll get started. I'm going to be using just a pencil at first. Hopefully everybody has a pencil within easy reach. If you don't, and you have the Sharpie Mystic Gems collection, one of the markers to use is the light gray, the Sharpie gray. You can use that as kind of an underlayment because we're going to go over it with other colors. And so it's a little bit of a great tip if you don't have a pencil to start with something a really light gray, again, because the colors go over it. All right, so with that, taking our pencil, we're going to do a little bit of layout first. We're going to sort of pencil in the outline of the frame itself. And so one of the things, I'll show you again the reference image just to kind of to set it in your brain, set it in your minds. I like to leave a little extra space at the top because I think it adds a little bit of fun and interest to sort of quote, like hang the picture. And so I like to leave a little bit bigger gap at the top so I can make the nail and the string or the wire or whatever you would hang your pictures with. So we're just going to start by doing the outline, getting the embellishments, if you could call them that, done, and making sure we outline in pencil the ribbon, because that could be something we accidentally go over. And if you do, no problem, we will work with it. But that's why I start with pencil. So I'm going to set that aside. And again, I'm going to start maybe an inch or two down, and just kind of starting at that left-hand corner. I'm not going to do the little little swoops just yet. I'm just going to start by kind of going horizontal, lightly, again, till about 2 inches from the edge. And you'll notice I'm going to go back in and add the little bump in the middle. And so now here, when I'm at my corner, I am going to start with the embellishments. So it'll be a little one, a bigger one, and a little one, all trying to get to help turn the corner here. Little one, bigger one, little one. So hopefully then you can sort of see how it helps get you around the corner. And again, now I'm going to start adding in that vertical line about 2 inches or so from the edge of the paper. I'm not using a ruler here, and you are welcome to if you need to, or if you have an extra sheet of paper, you can use an extra sheet of paper as a guide. There are times I'll just sort of rest my fingers kind of close to the edge And having that little bit of tactile feedback lets me keep the, to keep that line in the same spot for the entire kind of width or the entire length of the paper. And again, I did not do the little bump in the middle, but I'm gonna go back and add that, just a little one in about the center. And again, so I made a little dot so I know kind of where I'm headed with my lower right-hand corner embellishment. So again, we're gonna go little, big, little. And so that kind of helps me turn the corner here. Then again, making sure everybody can see this horizontal line. And you want to, oops, see, you got a little bit off track there. That's okay. And I will say, if you feel like you've messed up and want to start again, do it. No problem. I would much rather have you guys try a whole bunch of different ones and find one that you really like and have some fun doing it. Some of this just takes some practice. And so encourage you to do it as many times as you need to. And again, so now I'm going to kind of look at that upper bump and think, okay, that's where I would like the little embellishment to be there on the bottom. Same thing to turn the corner, little one, big one, little one. So kind of looking back, they're all in the ballpark. They're all about the same size, which is kind of all I need. Again, this is a handmade sign, and I love for things that are handmade to look handmade, because if I wanted to, I could print something off the computer. Would it be perfect? Everything would be vertical, everything would be horizontal, everything would be straight. But I think it adds something extra, adds something special to make it yourself. And so I don't mind if there's a little extra line, or if something isn't exactly the same. I think that just adds personality. All right, so we're going to finish off the frame. I actually, just for sort of ease of, I like to, when I make a vertical line, I like to bring it down so I can kind of pull with the pencil as opposed to try to kind of push it up. So again, little one, big one, little one. You know what, this one is not as round as I'd like, just make it a little rounder. Okay, so now all I have to do is connect the two corners. There we go. And go back in, add that little middle flourishment. So we have the outside of the frame done. The one thing I want to do before we kind of do the inside of the frame is to add the ribbon, to add the little, it can say welcome, it could say enjoy, it could say happy reading, whatever you would like it to say. And so I like it to kind of go across that top left-hand corner. So again, starting just a little bit down, half an inch down, just make a nice arc, easy breezy. And then I'll add just a little bump at the top. If you think about a ribbon, sometimes it can have a little bit of thickness and it shows as a little bit of a bump. And then kind of bringing it back. Again, hopefully about the same distance. And again, adding a little bit of volume or thickness there. Now, the hardest part, this is the easy part of the ribbon, I think. The hardest part is kind of the extra ribbon. Now, I think it's worth it to do because I think it adds a little bit of whimsy. I think it adds a little bit of personality, and then it makes clear kind of what this part of the ribbon is, that it actually is a ribbon. So the easiest way to do that, I found, is to start at the top of the ribbon in the bottom corner. So it's just to make a curved line that descends. 1, 2, 3. You can make it just once, you can make it twice. But then here at the bottom, I'm going to add the angles to make it look like you've cut a ribbon really nicely. And so what you now have is the top edge and the kind of the end of the ribbon. So to make it look like it is a horizontal surface that's folded over itself, I'm going to add a little bit, I'm going to add a vertical line there. I'm going to add another vertical line here. I'm going to add a vertical line here. And all of a sudden now it starts to get a little bit like a piece of paper or a ribbon has that kind of, it's in 3D. And then the last thing to do is to draw, follow this upper arc, just so ever briefly into where that ribbon begins its turn. So it looks a little bit now like you've got this very exciting, very happy ribbon. But to channel Bob Ross, for those of you who would remember who Bob Ross is, with his happy trees. And so we now have the outline of the frame plus the ribbon. The last thing we're going to do before we actually get the markers out is add the inside of the frame. And so again, I like a little bit thicker frame, so thinking maybe about 1.5 inches or so down. And again, this is not going to have any sort of embellishments in it. It is just sort of simply a straight horizontal, just simply a rectangle. And so I start kind of about there. Again, do your best. If it's not entirely horizontal, or if it's not entirely vertical, either erase it, draw over it, or embrace it. So again, we'll go back there. And then we can't quite see the upper corner of the frame. So I'm going to make kind of a little bit of a guess as to where it would go. And so now we have our whole frame. Now this one is a little bit smaller of an interior than the reference image. Whatever you've done is absolutely fine. I think we'll be able to fit whatever we'd like inside. And you are more than welcome to adapt this. If after this class you want to make a bigger sign with poster board or something like that, you are more than welcome to. So I just wanted to kind of give you the basics, kind of give you and do it in a scale that is small enough that you can kind of get your hands around. We can do it in an hour, and you can customize it however you'd wish. Hopefully you make many signs for the back to school timeframe. Although I think lots of schools are already back. You never know when you're going to need a good sign. Okay. Excuse me. So the next thing I want to do is I want to start to work with my markers. So setting the pencil down, I'm going to start with the classic black Sharpie Fine, just the classic one, the one that hopefully is an icon. I have some fun facts about Sharpie markers, but this is the one we're going to start with. And I just kind of want to remind you, we're going to do a quick outline of the outside. If your pencil has an eraser, you may want to erase the little line of the frame that goes through the ribbon, just to remind yourself that that's not where you want to outline. Okay, so here we are, Sharpie Fine. We will go over this line a little bit more towards the end, but this is to first kind of outline where we're going to be. So starting wherever feels good for you. I tend to like starting in the upper left. Again, going over our pencil marks. Again, now I'm going to start vertical, but I do like that little bit of thickness, a little bit of volume with the ribbon. So I'm going to go over it. Again, now on the horizontal, making sure to stop so I can add my little bit of fun to the frame here. And then keeping going. So again, little one, big one, little one. Now I chose kind of a, I don't know if it's sort of a caricature of a frame, but if there are other frames, if you are super modern and would like a super modern frame, absolutely go for it. That makes total sense. Lots of really sharp horizontals and sharp verticals, really clean. If you are feeling like Art Deco is your thing, that's fantastic. If you like, if you're feeling a little Rococo and like a really embellished frame, absolutely go for it. You can do whatever you like. Maybe even get a little medieval and put your shield, your family crest there in the middle. So we're going to keep going, outlining as we go. Again, stopping for the embellishment there along the vertical. Again, little one, big one, little one. just as my paper moved just a little bit, I have an extra piece of paper underneath. So again, when you're just using plain paper, as you guys know, Sharpie makes fantastic, great, bold, daring marks. But with just plain paper, the alcohol in the Sharpie marker ink can bleed through. So just make sure that if you're doing it on a surface that you don't want to have little black marks on, put an extra piece of paper underneath. I'll also say, because these, here's a little fun tip. Sharpie markers, because they're alcohol based, if you end up with a ton of Sharpie on your hands, as I have done in the past, a little alcohol based hand sanitizer will get that off your hands really quickly. And I'm assuming we all still have hand sanitizer everywhere. So another good use for hand sanitizer. Okay, I'm gonna go kind of back up to the corner. So again, so I can work kind of down and to the right, again, being able to pull the marker. For me, I feel like I have a little bit more control rather than sort of having to push it upwards. So again, down the little one, adding a little bit of thickness there for my ribbon. Keeping going. Adding a little bit more. Little one, big one, little one, and then finishing off with that last outside horizontal.
Hey, Laura, no questions so far. And for everybody on the call, if you do have a question, don't be afraid to ask in the chat.
Oh my goodness, yes, thank you for that reminder, Adam. Absolutely, if you have any questions or comments, if you want me to go slower, want me to go faster, please absolutely let me know. This is my first time doing a class for Michael's, and I'm super excited about it, but I want to make sure that the class works for you all. And so if there are adjustments to make or things to answer, please ask. I love talking about Sharpies. I think they're super fun. And so it would be great. So thank you for the reminder, Adam. Okay, I'm going to go now outline my ribbon. So again, just adding the kind of the arcs, the swoops. There we go. And again, on the outside. Following the lines. There we go. Oops. Okay. Oops. Getting this last one here. So now we have the outside of the frame outlined, the ribbon, and then the last thing we'll do here is the inside of the frame. Hopefully it is the easiest part. No swoops, no things to have to remember to stop for. Just nice horizontal, vertical lines. There we are. So now we have the outline of our sign. Now, again, I'll pull up the reference image here. So I made one for the library, thinking about, I have a sister that's a teacher. She teaches second grade. One of the things she loves to do is have a number of books that her students can borrow. And so I envisioned this as a sign she would put in her classroom, perhaps over sort of the book carrel or the place where they, the shelves or wherever they store the books, to let kids know that it is sort of their classroom library. But again, you are welcome to add different content in the middle. It could be, again, a teacher's name. It could be an assignment. It could be a special event. If there's an open house, as teachers go back to school. If you just wanted to say third grade classroom, absolutely fine with me. Just wanted to let you know that, again, like now that we have kind of the basic here, you can add whatever you'd like in the middle. We're still going to stick with kind of the library and go from there. All right, so now that I have the outlines done, I'm just gonna clean it up a little bit, but there's two things now that I wanted to create in there. One is the word library, making sure that I can get all of the letters in and, spaced pretty close, pretty evenly, things like that. And then the books. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the word library, because I want to make sure that I get that right. The books I can adapt. I can either have War and Peace, I can have Harry Potter, I can have something even smaller. And so the books I can adapt to fit whatever space is left. So if you think about kind of this space here, I want the word library to fit in the top half. And so library, it has 7 letters. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start with the R, and I'm going to put, because that's the middle, right there. There's 3 letters on this side, 3 letters on that side. So if I start with the R in the middle, even though that isn't how you would normally write library, that lets me know a little bit that how much room I have for the LIB and the ARY. Hopefully that makes sense. So again, I want to be in the top half and in the middle. So I think my R is going to go right about there. And I'm starting with block letters. And again, they're not the full thickness yet. I know I can go back in and add that later. And so now I need to do the L, the I, and the B, and then the A, the R, and the Y, for library. Is that, if I had a ruler, would that be perfect? No. Is it handmade and is it good enough? Absolutely. And so again, I like the look that this was something like specifically created. It doesn't necessarily need to be, again, if I wanted it to be absolutely perfect, I just print it out on a printer. So again, the joy of handmade here. So now that I've got the kind of the library sketched out, I'm going to think about the books. And so again, in the reference image here, I've got them mostly vertical. I've got a couple horizontal here and one a little bit askew. Someone must have taken the big book next to it. And so the little book there is on an angle. So I am going to kind of recreate what I've done here. So again, thinking about kind of a bigger book here, again, from about halfway down. I think this is a really big one. Again, War and Peace, Moby Dick, something like that. For those of you who remember those. The next one, I'm actually going to skip the book that's on an angle and I'm going to go to the next sort of big, tall book here. Again, you can go over the letters. You can come right up to the bottom of the letters. Again, you are welcome to customize the books in whatever way you would like. Now I'm going to go back in and add the one on an angle. So again, knowing that the upper right-hand corner of the book is touching the vertical book, and then it stops stop right there. So it's just a short little book that's on an angle. Again, so now I'm going to kind of fill in the rest of the books here with different ones. So I'm going to do kind of a series of books. There we go. And again, just in pencil. And now we've got some books horizontal, thinking about maybe an atlas or I might have just dated myself there. I'm not sure if people even look at atlases in the library anymore. I know they definitely don't look at encyclopedias. But think Harry Potter, think some of the classics, if you will, maybe it's Shakespeare. Maybe it's something like the Phantom Tollbooth, and then again, a book I remember from my youth. So I added just a couple of horizontal ones here, and again, kind of a short one there to add a little bit of differentiation there. So with that, again, we're going to set our pencils down, and I am going to start with the word library, and I'm actually going to use my big Sharpie chisel. If you don't have a Sharpie chisel, you may use whatever Sharpie you'd like. Again, the Sharpie Fine, this one is just fine. You can make that, make the letters as big and thick as you'd like, or you can have them nice and fine. Again, if maybe you have good sort of cursive or script handwriting, or even a different type of hand lettering, whatever suits you absolutely works. So, but I like a block letter. Fun fact about me, I went to architecture school and I'm not an architect, but it did leave me with some nice block handwriting. So using the thick or the wide part of the chisel, I turned the chisel sort of horizontal for the downstroke and then turn it vertical so I can go keep the thick part for the bottom. So just keeping going here. Again, using the thick part of the chisel as I pull down and then turning it vertical for the remainder of the letter. we go. Library. Now, I noticed that the curved part of my R doesn't have as much thickness as the rest of the letters and even the rest of that one. So I'm going to kind of go back over just pretty slowly and just see if I can add a little bit of thickness there. Oops. Rounding that out a little bit to make sure that the letters are all have kind of equal weight or equal thickness, if that makes sense. All right. Okay, setting the thicker Sharpie down. I'm going to pick back up the black Sharpie and we are going to outline the books. And then we're going to get into some color. I know you guys we've been with pencil and black and white here for half an hour, but I promise the back half of the class has way more color in it. And again, so now just sort of outlining my books, just the outside of my books. So as we just work on outlining our books, not a lot of instruction to give there, so I will use that time to offer up a few facts about Sharpie. So I'm not sure if anybody knew this. I'll ask a question like, let me know if you, in the chat, if you have a guess as to where Sharpie is made. I will give you a small hint. It is made in the US. So as you guys think about that, feel free to enter any guesses into the chat. I'm going to keep going here. I'll add another hint. It is east of the Mississippi. All right, well, I don't see any guesses in the chat, and that's okay. Sharpie, they are all made in Maryville, Tennessee. So it is really cool for this iconic brand as Sharpie to be made somewhere actually pretty close by. So I'm located in Michigan, and so it's a short flight away. I have been to the Sharpie plant, and let me tell you, it is super cool. It's a factory, and it is super impressive to see Sharpies being made. And I can tell you, if anybody has ever had any familiarity with injection molding, it is crazy. They make 96 Sharpies every time the machine makes a pass. And there is a ton of Sharpies that we make. Those machines are running all of the time. All right, so you'll notice again on the reference image that I added a little bit of sort of, we'll call it texture or flourishes to the books. So either a couple of lines, a little circle, maybe something that has the title on there. And so again, feel free to customize as you will, but I like to add a little bit of texture, a little bit of embellishment there, as most books have on their spines. And so if you have any books around you and you would like to take a look at what they have, please feel free to do so. I'll add a couple more here.
And Laura, we are halfway through.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. The back half's going to be way more fun. It's all color. All right, so kind of keep going. Another couple of things here. I'll add a little circle at the bottom of this one. We'll make this one have a nice color on the spine. Since these 4 books are all of the same, they're all in the same series, I'm just going to kind of draw the lines all the way across so that they would line up. We'll do that. And now we're working on books that are on their sides. So you may either just sort of make the embellishments here, or if you need to turn your paper and think through like, oh, we have the books laying down, what might they look like? So I'm going to add a little one there. Let's do another block of color on the spine. And then I think these 2 long books, these skinny books in here, they don't have anything on there. And it's also easier for me just because I'm not trying to make something too fine with this size, with the fine nib. So, all right, we'll do the last one here. Circle, just like that. Okay, so until the very, very end, we should not need the black marker anymore. Okay, now we're ready for some color. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start with the books, then we're going to do the ribbon, and then depending on how much time is left, we will hash in the frame. So with that, You may take a look at all of the Sharpies that you have. I have a lot of them here. Again, I've sort of said the Mystic Gems collection, I think is amazing. They've got some really cool colors and actually some different ones that maybe you wouldn't normally think of or have not been part of Sharpie packs in the past. So some interesting pastels. I love some of these sort of, I mean, honestly, I think they're gem colors. There's just a nice wide variety here. And so if this is your first pack of Sharpies, if you have other Sharpies in your house, it can be a nice addition to the collection, really allowing some different tones and different hues to come into play. So with that, I'm a big fan of the teal, and I'll hold it up here. I think it's more of a blue teal, maybe even a dark turquoise. There is another one that looks maybe more tealy. I'm picking up the one that I will say dark turquoise. And so that is going to be the kind of the big blocks of color on the book. So I'd like a light color in there to stand out a little bit. So just kind of coloring in. This is the really satisfying part because Sharpies cover so nicely and the colors are so vibrant that for me, it is really fun to sort of see them bring those books to life. I'll also add, if you'd like to add titles to your books, you are more than welcome. Again, if this is for a classroom, thinking about some titles that students might be familiar with. I recognize that my Moby Dick and War and Peace references don't always apply for all of the generations. Okay, a nice teal there. And then I'm actually going to pick a yellow because I think that will contrast nicely, add a little bit of pop to this book. Again, this one's really nice and easy. And again, with the lighter color on the darker color, you don't have to be as careful because they aren't going to bleed. And that's one of the beauties of the alcohol markers is they've got great lay down and they're not going to smudge or smear each other. So with that, we're going to move on to the next book. Since I did that one, a real kind of saturated color, I'm going to pick a little bit of a lighter color to do for my leaning, we'll call it the leaning book here. I'm going to try this nice orange. I will say when I look at all of the colors here, this is the one that most closely resembles orange sherbet. I'm sure that's not the official name. They don't have names, but I feel like orange sherbet's probably a pretty good analogy there. So again, I'm going to start with the sort of the big blocks for the books, coloring them in. There we are. Leaving the lines open and thinking through. Again, I'd like a nice contrast there with this with the orange sherbet color. I'm now going to pick purple, dark lavender, but it's the one that most closely resembles purple in the pack. Up to you, but I just like to use a color that I think is going to kind of pop, add some contrast there, and stand out. All right, moving on. Now we've got two books covered. I think what would be a nice balance? I think green. So we'll pick bright mint green. Not entirely sure how I would describe this, but it's just kind of a light green. There is another one that's a little more muted, and I'm going with the one that's a little bit brighter. One of the things that we have come out with recently for Sharpie is Sharpie S Note. And for those of you who want to do a little bit of experimentation, not only are there other classes on michaels.com that use Sharpie S Note, but the S Note has not only does it have a chisel tip, but it has some colors and they're a little bit more muted. And those colors allow you to layer and almost create a watercolor-like effect. And so if that is of interest to you, and using a watercolor is not something you would normally think about with Sharpie, I'd encourage you to check out S Note. It's a great addition to our portfolio. I think it really helps start to complete the set of creative tools that you really can do anything with you know, for Sharpie. So with that, okay, I've got green. What color? I think I'm going to go with, you know what? I'm going to pick the, I'm going to pick the, not the dark turquoise, but the one that's more of a dark teal. Just adding some color, and you may use whatever colors you have or whatever colors make sense. If you're doing it for a school, maybe there's some school colors that you would want to incorporate there. So we'll do the next one. We'll do a red. And I like to think, especially as I pick the colors like for the books that go next to each other, I do like to contrast. If they're not part of a book set, we'll have them be a little bit different. Next time you're at your local bookstore, you're going to be looking at the spines of books in a whole new way, wondering what are all the different options that you have there. Okay, blue, you know, we'll pick just the standard, we'll pick a nice bright blue, royal blue, if you will, to go in the spine here. Right, we're going to keep moving here since I know I only have 20 minutes left. We'll go light blue on this next one. And again, I'm going to color them in all the same because they are part of a set. When I was younger, I was really into Nancy Drew. So I had so many Nancy Drew books. Again, I recognize that that is dating me. All right. And again, to contrast the light blue, I'm going to pick up the darker blue. There we are. Just 3 more to go. You can pick whatever colors that you'd like. So I'm going to go with the kind of the pinky purple. Ends up being a little bit more lavender once you lay it down on the paper. There we are. We'll go dark green. Now for the 2 horizontal books underneath, I'm going to pick what looks like terracotta. Pick up the yellow again, again to show a little bit of contrast and difference between the 2 books here. And then one final book, I think kind of we'll use the mustard color. All right, and then we will finish it up with more of a periwinkle. Thanks for hanging in there, you guys. I know that the sun has come out and is now behind me, and it is shadowing my paper occasionally. I'm trying to make sure to keep my body in behind the sun, but in my defense, the sun was not out when I started. So I apologize for that, and I appreciate your patience, and thank you for hanging in there. Okay. Now we've got the books done. Our next task is the ribbon. And so I'm going to start with the lightest yellow that we have in that Mystic Gems collection. And I'll tell you why I choose the light one over maybe the darker one is at the end, again, looking back at the image, we will add a little bit of shadow here. And I like the light gray over the light yellow. I think it really makes it look like kind of the part of the ribbon is in shadow. So with that, the whole thing light yellow, and then we will add the gray for shadow underneath at the end. All right, so however you'd like to shade that in as fast as you can is up to you. I tend to start out at an angle and then just kind of get close to my to the borders there. Again, if you have any questions, any comments, and want to know more about something, please drop it into the chat. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Okay. There's the first part of the ribbon. And again, the nice thing with Sharpies with alcohol-based markers is that if you go over something that you have previously drawn, you don't have to worry about anything smearing or smudging. Or sometimes you get black on the nib, and then the next time you go to use it, it's kind of funny. So just one of the benefits of these markers. But if there are any kids here, please be very careful with these because they are permanent markers, and any of the parents or adults in your life don't necessarily want those everywhere. So just be aware of that. Okay, we've got the ribbon. We have got the books done. So now I'm going to add in my message here. And so while it had said welcome on the reference image, I actually like enjoy. I love reading and I love to encourage kids to read. And so I'll kind of think like enjoys 5 letters plus the exclamation point. So I'll start a little bit in and again, rely on my block lettering. There we are. Okay. So a couple things left to do. I know we have a little bit of time left here. And so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to shade in kind of the border of the frame. And again, you can go as fast or slow as you'd like. I'm going to get as far as I can, but leave a little bit of time at the end to explain kind of the shadows, using the gray to create some shadows so that it makes it really pop. So I'm going to choose. I really do love the again the turquoise color here. And so for me, what I found works best is I start in the upper right-hand corner, upper left-hand corner and on an angle. And it's something I can kind of keep repeating. For me, that's a comfortable angle to my hand. And again, I'm not as worried about full coverage because again, that's pretty hard to get with this type of nib. If you have more of the chisel tip, you are welcome to use those if you'd like to shade it in completely. But if all you have is a Sharpie fine, I think that just shading it in on the horizontal, kind of holding it at an angle, using a little bit of the wider part of the nib works just as well. And so the key there is to try to keep a consistent angle and a consistent distance between your lines. Is it perfect? Not at all. Does it look good? I think so. And so again, going on the horizontal, or on an angle, going back in and touching up where it hits the ribbon, so you can kind of see. And that's in general the angle that I want to maintain for the rest of the frame. All right, so starting again. I like starting with a little bit of a smaller area up front. It gets me comfortable with the angle and kind of gets my hand a little practiced as to what angle I'm going to just keep repeating over and over again. Oops. Oh, these longer aspects are a little bit harder here. So I may go back in. I'm going to keep going on the horizontal here, but I may go back in after I finish the whole thing and add a little bit in there just to cover up the inconsistencies that I have. So here we are. You'll notice, I don't know if you can see it on here, but right down here is a little bit of pencil that I had that I didn't erase. And you know what? It is getting hidden with these lines. And so again, if someone looks really closely, will they see it? You bet. But to me, that just shows a little bit of the care and the sort of the handmade aspect of this. Again, I'm a recovering perfectionist. And so letting go of the need for all of this to be perfect it's been a journey. Let's put it that way. All right, so we're about halfway there. Feels pretty good. It's going pretty quickly here. It's it's relaxing to just kind of do this, just to concentrate on one thing. And now here we are to the corner. I know it's going to get a little bit, this is a kind of interesting spot because I would have to extend it kind of off here into space. I'm actually going to stop there because that one, I want to kind of, when I bring the hashing around, I'll kind of tend to line it up so that, so it's at least close. So now I'm going to go back up here and start at this one. Start at the upper corner again, the upper left, working my way around clockwise. I don't know if your hand's getting a little sore. Mine is getting a little, I don't want to say crampy, but I can to feel the repetitiveness there. So if you need a break, feel free to take a break and come back and finish it later. But I'm gonna push through. Keep going here. This one gets a little, this gets a little harder up here because you've got a little bit longer distance and it's hard to just use the angle of your fingers. But I promise with practice, it gets a little bit easier. And again, we are looking for the sort of the energy and life that handmade brings, as opposed to something that you have printed. All right, so I know I'm kind of nearing this intersection point down here. So if there's any adjustments you need to make, because ideally you want these angles to be the same, I'm pretty close. I'm not doing too bad. I might need a little adjustment, but now's the time to start thinking about making sure that they sort of line up here. So I think I'm going to need a little bit. All right, I'll go back in and add a little bit extra to that, but not too bad. I did pretty good. The angles were pretty close as I worked my way around that lower right-hand corner. Almost done, almost done. Whew, there we go. So there we go. You can see as I look back, it's kind of take a little bit, lean my head back here and take a little bit of a view of the whole thing. There is a little bit of gap here and there's a little bit of gap here. So I might just kind of go fill in an extra line there to try to kind of help that out. This one I'm going to leave for now because I know we just have a few minutes left and want to add a little bit of shadow to make things pop. So this is where you would need a light gray. That's kind of this one here from Sharpie will work great. If you happen to have a Prismacolor, there's some cool gray in there that would work fantastic. But this Sharpie will work just fine. And so we're going to add some drop shadows. And the key with drop shadows is to make sure that you are consistent on where the shadow comes from. And so for me, I always put, if you would say the sun, the light is always coming from the upper right. And so if you think of this, the sun projecting from the upper right, it helps you think about what might be in shadow. And so again, things on this side, if the sun is coming from here, things over here will be in shadow. And so I like to add just a little bit there of where the shadow is. So the bottom of the embellishment and then the horizontal of the frame will all have a little bit of shadow behind it. So again, adding as much or as little gray as you'd like. If you'd like there to be a lot of shadow, add a thicker line, or a little bit less of one, you can add, you don't have to add as much. All right, so again, if it's coming from the upper right, there's going to be a little shadow here, and a little baby one here. And now the bottom, the horizontal, the bottom kind of the frame is going to have a little bit of shadow. And again, if the sun is coming here, there'll be a little shadow right in here. There we are. Okay, so you can see how that starts to give it a little bit of depth. The other thing, so as you can think of, if the sun is coming from here, this won't necessarily have a lot of shadow around it, but there might be a little bit of shadow here and a little bit of shadow on the top here. All right, so I know we have just a few minutes left, so I'm going to work on the ribbon. So again, underneath the ribbon is going to be in shadow. And again, I know when you're drawing, especially with the light gray like this, it can look like it gets a little bit, it doesn't stand out as much maybe as clearly some of the other colors do. And that's the point of the shadow. It's just, it's a little subtle pop. It adds a little bit of dimension, which I think is really cool. And so when I look at the ribbon, again, light coming from over here, this far side of the ribbon is going to be in shadow. And again, going right over the yellow gives it kind of a yellow that's in shadow. And again, for kind of this cut edge of the ribbon down here, adding a little bit of shadow, again, gives a little bit of a 3D aspect to what is very flat. Okay. The couple other things that you can shadow if you'd like, again, with the light coming from the upper right, there would be a shadow over this sort of top edge of the frame on the interior. If you think about, if you've put a frame together, I know Michael's has lots of nice ones. There's the glass is just a little bit behind that plane. And so it adds just a little bit of depth or dimension. And again, same for this edge of the frame. All right. And then last thing we're going to do is add a little bit of depth, a little bit of shadow to the word library. Again, light in the upper right. So that means the left will have some shadow. Again, they'll be on the left side of the letter and along and anything kind of on the bottom. So then this side of the B will have a little shadow right in there. And again, just adding a little bit helps it give a little punch, a little extra depth and dimension. All right. Again, I know we're nearing the top of the hour here. So one thing I'd like to do is if anybody has been working on this and would like to show their work, I would love to see it. And so if you switch to gallery view and turn your cameras on, if you could hold up what you've done, that would be lovely. I'd love to see the different, maybe perhaps the different signs that you've made. Oh, that looks awesome. I don't quite know how to say your name, but it looks like Janaya. I think you did such a good job. I think that looks so cool. I'm so proud of you. That's amazing. I love seeing your library signs. And Anyone else? I get it if you don't want to be on camera. That, you know, I feel you on that. It's in the Zoom world that we're in. I appreciate that. So with that, any other questions or anything else? Anything you'd want to ask here while we have just a couple minutes? I'll finish up my shadows here while we have just a minute to go. There we are. So not too bad. That was our reference image there. That's what we made. I think it looks great. I'm so excited that there were so many of you that joined. If there are any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the chat. What is the best way to store Sharpies? It's a great question. So you can store them tip up. There we are. For regular Sharpies, I will say if you have any metallic Sharpies, store those tip down. The special ink that we use in our metallic Sharpies, you don't want it to dry out, which can happen. And so tip down is the best way for metallic, but everything else, tip up. Can they be revived if they go dry? If so, how? Catherine, I've not been successful in reviving them. The kind of the material of the nib, when it dries out, it's hard to kind of get that ink flowing because again, you've got essentially the ink ends up acting as a little bit of a stopper at the end of the marker. I wish I had a better answer for you, to be honest. I don't know. If anybody else does, feel free to drop it in the chat, but I don't know of a way that they could be revived. But thank you for asking. Right. Yeah, thank you guys again. Thank you so much for joining. You know, there's so many fun products and I'm so excited for people to be creators in whatever works for you. Again, I don't have a background as a fine artist or an illustrator. And so finding ways to be creative has been really fun and impactful to me. So I'm glad to be able to share that. And I think we are at the top of the hour. Felicia, is that, I think you're up. Can you show the S ones? I don't happen to have any here. I did not bring any. And so I apologize. I wish I would have thought about that. Let me just remind you guys for the hashtag. So if you want to post this on social media, we would love it. Oops, let me move it there to the middle, in the middle of my frame. Hashtag Make It With Michaels. Hashtag Michaels Classes. Please check out at Sharpie on Instagram. That's me at L Leanhouse. I'll say, you know, Sharpie has got some great stuff. I'll also mention our parent company is Newell Brands. And so if you want to check out at Newell Brands on Instagram, there's actually a really cool video of our CEO at the plant in Maryville, Tennessee. And so you can see a little bit of what it takes to make a whole bunch of Sharpies. Thanks, Kim. I see you dropped a link in the chat to Michael's for the S notes. And so again, check out, there's a couple other classes that some of my colleagues have done on using S notes in a little bit of a different way than you maybe would use a traditional Sharpie. So there's so S note has some great qualities and we'll show you a few things you can do with that. All right, with that, no more questions. I'll say thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Have a great Labor Day weekend. And join other Michael's classes. Thanks for your time.